They called her the Regent without a throne, and the name was not meant as poetry. It was an inventory. 7 systems gone dark on the mantle she still wore because to remove it would be to confess what everyone already knew, that the authority it represented had been bleeding out for months, one system at a time, like a body learning to live with less. She was standing at the viewport of the Regent's chamber when the transmission arrived. Not from her fleet, not from her council. From Vex Karen, a woman who had no official reason to be watching Lysara's admiralty and every practical one. The message was 11 words. Thesson has moved. Roan's squad is in the spire. You have 12 minutes. Lysara read the words twice. Then she set the transmission down on the pale alloy table with the deliberate care of someone who understood that the next thing she touched would determine whether she survived the hour. In the Admiralty war room, 3 tiers below, Admiral Thesson was already standing at the central pit, her tactical data gauntlet painting the Aethonis fleet disposition in cold blue light across the holographic display. She had not drawn a weapon. She did not need to. The fleet codes she had rotated at 0400 were weapon enough. Lysara's command access severed as cleanly as a surgical cut. The locks changed while the Regent slept. Thesson believed she was performing a mercy. This was the most dangerous thing about her. She told the Admiralty staff assembled around the pit that the Regent's authority had become a liability the fleet could no longer absorb. She said it in the measured cadence of a briefing, not a declaration. She consulted her data gauntlet twice while she spoke. She did not raise her voice. Guard Captain Roan moved through the upper tier's white stone corridors with 4 of his people, their boots making no sound on the polished floor. He had been given a simple instruction: secure the Regent's chamber. He was not told what secure meant in practice. He had not asked. And then the spire spoke. Not in words, not in anything a human instrument could pass as language. A pulse, deep, subsonic, felt in the sternum before it was heard in the ears, rolled outward from the spire's core and into the stone of the upper tiers. The polished floor of the corridor where Roan walked developed a hairline fracture that ran, perfectly straight, for 11 meters. Dust sifted down from the ceiling in slow curtains. In the Faith's delegation chambers 2 tiers below, Archon Valen Drace felt the pulse through the soles of his feet and stopped writing mid-sentence. His ink-stained fingers went still for the first time in hours. He looked at his aide, Tessith Karen, who had already opened her notation tablet and was pressing her palm flat against the wall, feeling the stone. She said, "It's not random. The vibration has a pattern." Valen said, "I know." He crossed to the wall and pressed his own hand against it, and the gold circuitry woven into his robe's hem flickered, responding through the progenitor thread to something in the stone beneath. He had been waiting 30 years to feel something like this. He had not expected to feel it during a coup. Lysara reached Admiral Koros before Thessan's people could lock the secondary command corridor. She did not go with guards. She went alone, which was either the most reckless decision she had made in months or the most calculated. And she had spent enough years in rooms where power was the only furniture to know that a sovereign arriving alone carries a different weight than one arriving with an escort. Koros was in his personal quarters, still in his dress coat, the campaign ribbons catching the amber light of his bunk strip. He had not slept. He had known since 0400 that this was coming and had spent 4 hours deciding what kind of man he was. Lysara stood in his doorway and offered him a choice, not a command, not a threat. She said, "I know what Thesson told you. I know what she promised. I am asking you to consider what the fleet becomes the morning after she delivers it." Koros looked at the campaign ribbons on his chest for a long moment. Then he looked at the 7 dark patches on Lysara's mantle. Then he stood, In the upper tier, Roan's squad reached the Regent's chamber and found it empty. The viewport showed the capital city spreading below, the lower tiers lost in the spire's shadow. The long conference table of pale alloy was bare, except for a single transmission chip, Vex Karen's 11-word message, left there deliberately, face up, so that whoever found it would understand exactly how much time had been wasted. The second pulse hit while Roan was reading it. This one cracked the viewport frame, not the glass, but the white stone surrounding it, in a pattern that followed the progenitor glyphs etched into the spire's exterior with a precision that could not be coincidence. Roan looked at the crack. He looked at the transmission. He made a calculation that had nothing to do with loyalty and everything to do with survival, and he put his sidearm on the table. With Koros standing beside her, Lysara walked into the admiralty war room through the secondary entrance that Thesson had not thought to lock because she had not known Koros would open it. The tactical display still showed the fleet in cold blue light. Thesson was still at the central pit, still consulting her data gauntlet, still explaining the situation to a room of officers who had been growing less certain with every minute. Lysara said nothing for a long moment. She let the room see Koros. She let the room understand what his presence meant. Then she said, "Admiral Thesson, the fleet codes." Thesson looked at Koros, then at Lysara, then at the data gauntlet on her wrist. Her fingers moved toward the controls, not to comply, but to trigger the secondary lockout she had prepared for exactly this contingency. Koros crossed the room in 4 steps and put his hand over hers. Thesson was removed from the war room under guard. She did not speak. She did not struggle. She looked, in that final moment, less like a defeated conspirator than like a woman who had made her argument and lost the vote, and who was already calculating the appeal. Lysara restored the fleet codes herself, standing at the central pit with her hands on the holographic controls, the blue light of the display painting her mantle in cold fire. The 7 dark patches on the fabric caught no light at all. The trading houses arrived in the afternoon. They came to the neutral pavilion on the spire's mid-tier with the unhurried confidence of people who had been waiting for this meeting for years and had prepared for every version of it. Their robes were the muted ochre of mercantile neutrality. Their smiles were the diplomatic equivalent of a blade kept in the sheath, present, visible, and entirely capable of what it suggested. Lysara read it. Every clause, every sub-clause, every carefully worded provision that transferred economic sovereignty over 3 outer systems to the trading houses' joint administration in exchange for their fleet support guarantee and the resupply lines that her coup-damaged admiralty could no longer secure alone. 3 more systems, 3 more patches on the mantle that would go dark the moment she signed. She signed. The pen, a living metal stylus that authenticated documents through contact with her seal ring, left a mark on the pale alloy that could not be undone. The lead attaché folded the document with the practiced efficiency of someone who had always known this was how the afternoon would end. Lysara watched her leave and did not move from her chair for a long time. In the upper tier, Valen had been working for 6 hours by the time the third pulse came. He was kneeling on the cracked stone floor, his ink-stained fingers tracing the fracture patterns that the pulses had opened in the white stone. And he had begun to understand what he was reading. Not fully, not yet, but enough to know that the spire was not malfunctioning. It was broadcasting, outward, into the dark. A recognition protocol, the same class of progenitor signal he had found encoded in the Obsidian Codex's deepest archive. That meant, "I am here, come to me." Tessith was 3 steps behind him, her notation tablet open, her grey-blue eyes moving between Valen's hands and the cracked stone and the progenitor script on the spire's walls, which had begun rearranging itself with each pulse. Not randomly, but in response. As if the signal was receiving a reply, she wrote everything down. She did not tell Valen what she intended to do with it. The fourth pulse came at dusk. This one cracked the stone of the plaza at the spire's base, not hairline fractures but open fissures, 2 fingers wide, running outward from the buttresses in concentric rings. Dust fell from the upper tiers in slow curtains. The capital's population, already rattled by the day's rumours of a coup, began moving away from the spire in quiet, urgent streams. Lysara stood at the viewport of the Regent's chamber and watched the dust fall. Her right hand had begun to tremble again, a consequence of the 2 failed binding attempts, her body still carrying the resonance of something it had touched and could not release. She pressed it flat against the surface of the conference table to still it, and felt the table vibrate with the spire's frequency. She walked to the spire's wall, the inner wall of the Regent's chamber, where the dark, iridescent material was exposed, the progenitor script glowing faintly blue in the evening light, and pressed her trembling right hand against it. The script rearranged itself around her palm, not quickly, not dramatically, with the slow, deliberate precision of something that had been waiting for the right contact and had finally found it. Lysara did not know what it said. She was not what the spire was calling for, but it knew she was there, and it was patient. In the corridor outside, Tessith Karen pressed her back against the wall and sent her transmission to the ledger. Every glyph, every fracture pattern, every word Valen had spoken aloud while he worked. She did not know if she had done the right thing. She had stopped asking that question at 17. Inside the Regent's chamber, Lysara Aethonis stood with her hand against the wall of a machine she did not understand, in a city that was cracking around her, wearing a mantle that was running out of light, and understood, with the cold clarity of a woman who had spent her life reading rooms, that the Throne Spire was not hers. It had never been hers. It had been waiting, through 5 dynasties and a war that erased 4 of the 9 original houses, for someone else entirely.